Monster Hunter Wilds. Bet you didn't see that coming, did you? For years, Monster Hunter has followed a simple yet immersive formula, humans and monsters coexisting in a delicate balance where conflict is driven not by prophecy or world-ending threats, but by nature itself. No grand villain and no divine war, just survival in harmony. But now things are a little different. It's about the world, its past, and the forgotten civilization that may hold the answers to the lore nuggets from all the games we've played before. Today we're deep diving into the lore of Monster Hunter Wilds and exploring a theory that might change the way we see Zoshia and Fatalis in a different light. Before we begin, hey guys, what's up? Aru. If you enjoy Monster Hunter lore deep dives, then consider subscribing because this will be my first Monster Hunter lore video and it's going to be an absolute yap fest. Now, let's begin. Our journey begins in the Forbidden Lands, a region long thought to be uninhabited, lost to time, and erased from history. But as the game reveals, not only is it home to new life, but remnants of an ancient civilization's descendants and its power, Wyveria. Just a disclaimer, Wyveria was not made by the Wyverians, but some Wyverians did live in Wyveria along with humans. So the name might not be dedicated to the race of Wyverians, but more of a concept for wyverns and elder dragons that live alongside them. This, however, is still unclear as we don't have other official dialogue and lore from the game. Now then, Wyveria was a civilization at the peak of technology, capable of controlling the weather, levitating mountains, and creating wyvern milk-dependent servant monsters. Their dominance ended in a catastrophe which forced survivors to split. Half of the survivors fled west, likely becoming scholars who shaped the Hunters Guild today, while the other half remained as keepers, watching over the Dragon Torch, keeping its research knowledge, and deciding whether to prevent another disaster or not. The capital ruins, as well as the entire city's ruins, reveal the layout of Wyveria's structures and Wilk harvesting stations. The Keepers long held the knowledge to study and destroy the source of all Wilk, which is the Dragon Torch, through Nata's pendant, but refused to do it, clinging to its power despite their past downfall. And now the Guardians like Arkfeld and Zoshia have awakened, bringing the crisis that the Keepers have anticipated long ago. The Outer Bailey once protected the capital, extending to the Ice Shard Cliffs and then connecting to the Oil Well Basin Forges, which take its forging water from the dam in the Scarlet Forest, and then finally stretching to the outer reaches of the desert in the Windward Plains, where lightning inclemencies defend the open field. Here, the land spine is revealed as the Wormway, a pulsing limitless energy network, while wyvern milk appears and fuels the expansion and regeneration of these fungus-like helical tree roots throughout the Eastlands. The Forbidden Lands tribes share an ancient vocabulary tied to Wyveria, which is why they call wyvern milk Wilk, despite not knowing the Keepers or Wyveria's history, suggesting that tribes today are its scattered descendants bound by history to their fallen civilization. The Hunters Guild has long suspected that something was hidden beyond the east, but even the Academy doubted the existence of an advanced civilization, expecting only ruins and monsters, but not people. Now the truth is undeniable. The people of Kunafa, Azus, the Keepers, and even the Woodwoods hold fragments of this ancient knowledge, speaking in a language nearly lost to time. Hunters like the ones in-game, specialized in taking down creatures of immense power, are seen as something beyond human in the East, or even calling us bizarre tribes who carry weird tools that they barely understand. This goes to show that the Forbidden Lands isn't a new frontier. It's an old graveyard of the past, and it's something to unravel again. And yet something still stirs beneath its surface. Wilk or wyvern milk is a key source in Wyveria, first seen in Kunafa as fuel. Wilk appears from Wormways, glowing bright during inclemency, suggesting that it regenerates or breeds like a living organism. Something interesting about the Dragon Torch is that it adapts to whatever it absorbs and amplifies it to great levels, like contracting and amplifying the Frenzy virus, quickly adapting to the antivirus medicine after extracting it from the Gormagala, which Werner theorizes will give an immunity to the Frenzy virus and maybe other viruses as well. Wyveria itself seems to be made from Wilk and other monster parts, shaping everything from its draconic gothic structures to the artian weapons that we find within the game that may still be hidden. Guardian monsters born from Wilk sustain themselves on it, glowing bright blue when absorbing Wilk energy and reverting to a white, dissolving Wilk upon death. Sightings have mentioned that Guardian monsters can become tempered and slowly become Guardian veterans as well. Some, like the Ebony Odogaron, serve as sentries for the Dragon Torch and even become hardened sentries like tempered Ebony Odogaron. The keepers continuously harvest an endless supply of Wilk in their villages, and in optimal areas the Wormway converges into a bright blue core, becoming lesser dragon torches. So far they appear in the Windward Plains, the Oilwell Basin and Wyveria, but similar formations may exist across all regions. This hints that it spreads wherever the dragon torch seems suitable, and its growth cannot be monitored as to where it should stop or if it ever will. Although the Forbidden Lands were once thought uninhabited, several villages have endured in isolation from the West, each with their own unique traditions and even interact with other eastern tribes. Kunafa, the village of Whispering Winds, survives by mimicking the whistling sound of Raidao using gem chimes, hoping to deter threats rather than fight them. Unlike the guild-structured hunts, the people here and in other villages see monsters as dangerous and demand respect, but not sacred like an all-knowing god. Simply monsters in this part of the world.
And that monster you faced, the Elder has spoken of its fearsomeness and how it influenced our use of gem chimes.
There is, however, a religion or simpler belief in the seasons, fallow, inclemency, and plenty, first thought to be natural phenomenon and is later found out to be an artificial system through the Dragon Torch. The Wudwuds are native lineans of the Scarlet Forest and likely ancestors of modern feline palicos residing in Wyveria's water dam ruins. They call whatever territory they have Wyvere and claim items as tributi, as well as calling our base camps a puny hovel.
Your small hovel?
Speaking in a mix of ancient and modern language in a mocking structure. Long ago, they were servants who seem to have managed the dam as water purifiers. The dam where the apex Uthduna resides now is likely the same place they worked in. They adopted lopsided trading practices from their former masters, now performed as a comedic formality. Their vocabulary, both mocking and humorous, may reflect the tyranny and discrimination they once endured under Wyveria's rule, a vocabulary picked up from their ancient masters' peculiar manners of speaking. Azuz and the Everforge is a land of fire and craftsmanship, where oil wells up in one season and ignites the next. The Stone Folk, the Bone Folk, and the Oil Folk have perfected their craft for generations, using various forges to create auric calcite from monster materials, rare ores, and golden auric oil. Once a vast forging district, Azuz now finds whatever scraps it can and follow the tradition of handicraft, their means of defense repelling most monsters with its smoking oil spires, all except for the Ajara Khan, which seem to see the Fire Spring Festival as a threat display from a large monster. The keepers of Sealed Village are the inheritors of Wilk and Dragon Torch study, preserving the knowledge and technology that once fueled Wyveria's prosperity. As descendants of those who harnessed its limitless energy, they sustain their village through Wilk farming, using its properties for food production, plant growth, and even durable materials. Their vast libraries hold invaluable knowledge sought by the Academy in the West. They also oversee the resting place, where guardian monsters have now just emerged during the Wyvern's awakening, continuing the traditions of their ancestors while awaiting their technology's true purpose. The Ice Shard Cliffs is a remnant city of Wyveria, characterized by its Gothic design, its scale, and the villagers mistaking tall buildings for cliffs. Nata notes that the region's structures resemble his village, confirming that all of the Forbidden Lands were once part of Wyveria. The Allharken explains this later on, which highlights Wyveria's massive scale, dwarfing even major cities like Dondorma and Loklak in previous games. Suja, a peaceful mountain peak just outside of Wyveria, is an almost magical, serene place taken care of by the remnant Wyverians who stayed. The Allharken, foreseeing our arrival, calls us the Hunter and refers to Western people as birds, mirroring the Avis unit's name. In Suja, we learn the truth about the Dragon Torch, a limitless energy source capable of manipulating weather, forging materials, and negating weight. Wyveria's greatest creation, Wyvern Milk Guardians, ultimately led to their downfall when they invited calamity to themselves, birthing Zoshia long ago and destroyed Wyveria. Arkvel's ongoing transformations, reappearing beyond extinction, make it a huge threat, as an unchecked evolution could cause another catastrophe. Zoshia too may not have reached its final form. Its shifting body and chaotic features suggest that it's still evolving, potentially into a beast that once destroyed the ancient civilization, Fatalis. The entire expedition crew of Monster Hunter Wilds is handpicked down to a T, from the support crews that study endemic life and culture, to the hunters tasked with finding new monster species. While the MC Hunter is an aura farming Gigachad, there are hints of their deeper backstory. Alma specifically chose us for the expedition because we, like Nata, have experienced loss, suggesting a past tragedy. Our reputation as a nomadic hunter aligns with past protagonists in older games, always moving from place to place and solving each town's problems. In Suja, we're called a bird, fitting the Avis unit name, but this might symbolize the hunter's journey across villages, much like the previous main character hunters. Even Fabius acknowledges our remarkable skill, suggesting a reputation as a legendary hunter nomad. Nata is the keeper of the Dragon Torch's up switch from his late father's pendant. Thrust into the outside world at a young age, his naive, passive-aggressive nature masks a deep trauma from losing his home and encountering the monster that haunts him. After the main game, he becomes a junior guild member and a courier for other tribes. As the only Easterner to reach the western border after millennia of isolation, he now becomes the bridge between both worlds. A scholar from the Hunters Academy and handler of the Avis unit, Alma specializes in cultural anthropology, making her a key member to studying the Keepers and their history and cultures. Her goofy expertise in ancient cultures, languages, and ancient relics led her to identify Nata's anti-Wilk pendant. She also trained under Fabius in the Academy and joined the initial survey of the Forbidden Lands, leading to her role in the expedition as Avis unit's handler. Eric is a scholar in monster biology and handler of the Astrum unit, specializing in analyzing monster behavior, adaptations, and their ecological impact. His expertise helps predict monster movement, particularly in the Forbidden Lands' altered food chain. Eric identified Arkveld's unusual feeding patterns, noting its preference for elemental absorption rather than traditional predation, and theorizing that the Dragon Torch suffered from the Frenzy virus and Arkveld becoming an aberrant Frenzy host. The leader of the Astrum unit, Olivia is an ace hunter personally selected along with Eric and Werner for their expertise, with specific missions from the guild. Her main mission was to subdue Arkveld and make sure Nata's village is saved. Fiercely valuing her duty as a protected hunter, she often takes on the most dangerous assignments to subdue monsters or protect others from monster attacks. Werner is Astrum Unit's engineer, tasked with uncovering the origins of Welk research and Wyveria's technological discoveries. He also theorizes that the Dragon Torch is a living organism which accelerates whatever sustenance it absorbs, like how the Frenzy virus caused its inclemencies to worsen, as well as quickly healing from the Frenzy antidote we gave it. Gemma seems like the blacksmith from Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate in Hearth Village, known for her skills in making swords into armor. Many believe that she's the same Little Miss Forge from past games, and her various character design details seem to be evidence of that claim. From her clothes, her hair and eyes, and even her plushie. Finally, Fabius, theorized as the former Ace Lancer from Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and the one who commissioned the Forbidden Lands expedition. His research on monster biology, particularly a thesis on Gormagala, provides crucial insights into the land's shifting ecosystem after the Frenzy virus and the recent increase in monster activity. But this also takes its lore way back to when we first fought Gormagala, which later turned into the Elder Dragon Shagaru Magara. The ecosystem of the Forbidden Lands is controlled by the Dragon Torch, and apex predators take advantage of the inclemencies in every region, while guardians reign supreme over Wyveria's capital. Arkveld emerges during inclemency, hunting apex predators across the Forbidden Lands to feed on elemental energy before retreating to its den. Now, at first I thought that its way of flight was similar to a tigress gliding, but its ability to fly without proper webbed wings likely comes from its Wilk-based sustenance and Wyveria's technology, just like how Wyveria defied natural laws through levitation. Nata's uncle Tashin describes Arkveld as a harbinger of doom for Wyveria and didn't consider it a guardian at all, with the guardian Arkveld showing protective instincts toward the Dragon Torch, but also possibly drawn to it as a food source. After the main story, its Frenzy virus affliction made it a relentless energy consumer, destabilizing the ecosystem and forcing its removal, as well as likely becoming an incompatible host for the Gormagala spores. A non-frenzied and non-guardian Arkveld can actually exist naturally, feeding only as needed and being part of the ecosystem. Eric's theory proved that Arkvelds can become maddened even after the Frenzy virus is lifted, and at that point it was called an aberrant instead of a frenzied Arkveld. The following are going to be other apex predators and monsters worthy of note in the ecosystem. Raidao, a fast elusive predator ruling the stormy skies with lightning and aerial agility. The villagers of Kunafa use gem chimes to mimic its calls and avoid other monsters. As Raidao is highly territorial and rarely seen due to its link with the Sand Tide, not many villagers are able to see it appearing, but they do know that it dwells near the Wind's Gasp, which is a main catalyst used by Wyveria for lightning along with the other lightning rods. Uthduna, a massive amphibious leviathan appearing only during heavy rains, living at the top of the dam in the Scarlet Forest. Dubbed the Lord of the Forest by the Wudwuds, it uses its rain-soaked wings to create a protective veil around itself during inclemency. Nu Uldra, a fire-manipulating cephalopod living in great forges and emerging in extreme heat during the fire spring. Coated in oil, it's one of the most destructive apexes, known as the Black Flame by Azuz. It also once melted the path to Wyveria at the Ice Shard Cliffs. Jindahad, a hulking ice behemoth of the Ice Shard Cliffs that fuses metal onto its body for armor, using cold wind through its ridges to regulate its temperature. Unlike Fatalis, however, it merges metal armor for survival and not malice. It's the only apex predator that doesn't clash with Arkveld. Shuwu or Sheiwu, not a guardian, but the only predator that actually hunts them. It's also been seen mistaking sealed villagers in white for guardians and preys on them instead. Despite its power and name as the assassin, it has no turf war with Arkveld, possibly due to lacking elemental power and not being in its food chain. Finally, Gormagala, a dangerous invader from the west that if left unchecked may evolve into a Shagaru Magara. Its frenzy spores, which spread like xenomorphs, could threaten both the Guardians as well as the entirety of the Forbidden Lands, especially the Dragon Torch if unmanaged. Now, it's worth noting that Wyveria did not fall in a war, and it didn't decay over centuries. According to the Allharken, Wyveria's people invited calamity upon themselves, knowing full well what the consequences would be. Zoshia was created to be Wyveria's ultimate guardian, an amalgamation of powers beyond comprehension. But something went wrong. Its form was unstable, its instincts unpredictable, and it did not protect Wyveria. Instead, it destroyed the land it was created in, and nested on the Dragon Torch to feed itself until it was fully grown and chosen its true form. The Keepers could simply kill Zoshia using a repellent material to wyvern milk, but instead they kept the Dragon Torch alive all these years, and with it, Zoshia, who at the hands of the Hunter was put down in order to protect the Forbidden Lands and its created ecosystem. Zoshia is unlike any other monster we've seen so far. Its form adapts and evolves, absorbing energy and reshaping itself by will. Its description tells of when it first destroyed Wyveria, and that its dark interior shape recalls its face of destruction long ago, brandishing and recreating Wilk body parts until its inner dark design is finally clear. This particular construct is the Seraph in its name, but the one beneath it seems to be leaning towards a certain Elder Dragon in the roster that lives only in myths and legends, maybe even an extinct dragon. Now this is where the lore ends, and you can actually stop watching here because that's all the official lore that I've gathered. But this is also where the theories and questions begin, because there is only one other creature in Monster Hunter lore that looks like this, and it's also not the first time humanity tried to make their own dragon. The theory that I have in short summary is basically a Monster Hunter version of the chicken or the egg regarding the entire Fatalis event and how Fatalis actually appeared long ago. This theory suggests that Fatalis wasn't a natural dragon, but a failed equal dragon weapon, a recreation of an extinct black dragon meant to be the perfect weapon against other dragons. Instead, it evolved into a godlike creature, a reflection of humanity's hubris, and became a natural Fatalis, which is the legendary destroyer of civilizations. Wyveria once created Zoshia, a guardian with merged dragon traits to protect them, but in the end it spiraled out of control. If left unchecked, Zoshia could have evolved into something like Fatalis. This actually mirrors Arkveld, an extinct guardian turned into a natural monster. Fatalis may have started as a guardian or experimental construct, evolving over time into its own species, which is a long-extinct dragon. Children's stories of Fatalis fusing armor into itself might be a grotesque retelling of how the ancient civilization weaponized monsters. Jindahad shows similar behaviors, merging metal for survival instead. Now, if Zoshia nearly became a Fatalis just by combining its traits, then perhaps the ancient civilization recreated a lost dragon and instead birthed the Fatalis event long ago. Even both of their names reflect a deeper meaning. Zoshia roughly meaning gift of salvation or light of God, contrasting with Fatalis, which is Latin for destiny or doom. While Wyveria in the ancient world reached for godhood, they may have only created monsters instead. So now a new question remains, if you believe it or not. Did the ancient civilization summon Fatalis in anger, or did they accidentally build Fatalis in pursuit of perfection? And there we go, that's everything we know about Monster Hunter Wilds lore and the mystery of Wyveria, as well as a little bit of theory about Fatalis and Zoshia. So what do you guys think spawned Fatalis, the chicken or the egg? Did Fatalis appear from the sky after seeing the heresy of the ancient civilization, or could Fatalis have been created in pursuit of finding the perfect dragon weapon? And if so, does that mean that we could see another one in the future? Honestly, that was a lot to gather and then say into a single video, and then some, but for the sake of everyone who is curious about Monster Hunter Wilds lore, I'm likely going to make just one more to focus on a theory side of the game, and then the next one would be for when the new update comes out or if a DLC is released. But that's gonna be it from me. I'll see you guys in the next video, yeah? As always, like, comment if you enjoyed, subscribe and hit the bell for more of my ramblings, and stay mad theorists. Bye!